Hello. I'm going to talk more about death. So, year of death, also known as transition. Also want to think of it and transition this. I don't think this is that far away. Gateway, right? And there's a lot that we could go into in terms of death being a transition and a gateway. And I'm not just talking about the death of our little meat suits, right? Of us leaving this place and going somewhere else in our vibration. This is what I believe, not necessarily what everybody else believes. I believe that we are vibrations in this little meat suit, and then when the meat suit goes away, the vibration goes on. You can call it a soul, you can call it whatever. I have no attachment to that. That's one form. That's the big form, right? That's the one that we're all guaranteed at some point is going to happen. The meat suit's going to go away, and whatever is left, if there's anything left, is going to go somewhere else, right? But throughout our lives, we are constantly, because the other guarantee, other than death, is change, right? So, all change is a transition, is a death. So if this year is going to be a really big year of death and transition, and that is certainly what it is feeling like on about 15 different levels, at least for me, and it seems like that's resonating with you as well and with a lot of people. What does that mean? What does that look like? And what do we do, right? How do we deal with that? When we are going through a transition, when something knocks us off our surfboard. And I've used this analogy in other videos, this idea that you're surfing the waves of life. You're surfing, and if things are good, you've got your surfboard and you're surfing the waves, and then all of a sudden maybe a big wave comes and knocks you off. And then what do you do, right? Well, hopefully you figure out if your surfboard's damaged at all, if it needs some work, and then you get back on. Maybe you tow it to shore and you figure it out, and then you get back on it and you go back and you surf some more, right? You want to get back to a point where you can surf, but you may be changed. You may be doing it differently. It may be that, next time I see a tidal wave coming, maybe I can position myself slightly differently, right? Maybe there's stuff I can learn from having gotten knocked off my surfboard. But what's the surfboard? What keeps you able to surf, right? And that seems to be routine, right? Routines. Routines are something in a very unpredictable and chaotic world that we exist in, no matter how much control we think we have or we try to exert on it, which is always a very frustrating activity. Routine. And I don't mean getting locked into routine. I don't mean that. So everything, if we can, let's try to have a loose hold on it, right? So it's a loose routine. But I find that even silly things like I get up in the morning, I take the dogs go out, I start making coffee, maybe I clean up the kitchen a little bit, and then the dogs come in and I feed them, and then I grab my coffee and I usually get a coffee for my husband as well, and I bring that back to bed, and then I get in bed and I get on my computer and I maybe do some journaling, or I used to do social media, which I'm trying to avoid right now and is actually going really well. I'm reading Mary Oliver instead. That's a suggestion. Get off social media as part of your new routine. Right now, pull back, pull in, find your routine. Then I like to meditate in the morning, because I find if I don't meditate in the morning, I don't end up meditating. And it's the same thing sometimes with exercise, although not as much. I can sometimes find time in the evening to exercise when it's not freezing cold outside. There's not 10 inches of snow on the ground. But routine is one way to help anchor you through otherwise chaotic transitions, right? And even if you can't do your whole routine every day, if there's maybe a couple of things that you can do or that you actively don't do, I don't turn on the news, I don't look at social media, I have decided that is not helpful to me right now. So what I'm focusing on is reading poetry, journaling, enjoying my coffee in bed to sort of ease my way into the morning, then starting with a meditation. And then if I have time to exercise in the morning after that, great. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Then maybe I can do it in the evening if I can't. But those are the pieces of routine. So I'm not trying to make a routine out of my whole day. My day constantly changes. Because I work for myself and I see clients here at my house, it's always different, right? I may see 3 clients one day and 6 clients another, or no clients another. And I kind of have to be ready to like shift myself around, which keeps me, maybe a little bit more flexible, a little bit more loose. And that's a very good thing, right? Staying flexible, because if you're hard, if you're rigid, and you get hit, and this is true whether you're boxing or whether you're surfing or whatever, if you're rigid and you get hit, what happens? You get hurt. If you are flexible and loose and you get hit, you don't get hurt. Or maybe you don't get hurt as bad, or maybe you're able to like dodge the thing. And that is not a bad thing. That is a very good thing. And that's one of the things that I'm going to suggest about this transitional time, is that you find a routine, but you stay relatively flexible. Don't get rigid if you can avoid it. I know that's hard sometimes, particularly when we feel like we're under threat. And remember that this is a transition, and transitions always offer us opportunities to learn, to do better, to do something else, to learn about ourselves, to figure out how to navigate this world a little better. And then, back from an earlier video, talking about Pema Chodron's book, How We Live is How We Die, also seeing that if we are able to learn how to handle transition and change with more grace in our lives, throughout our lives, we are then preparing for the biggest transition we're going to make whenever the end of our life happens. So try and think of this as an opportunity. Try to find some routines that buoy you, that help you, that support you, that bring you joy, that bring you peace. And try to stay flexible. Those are my things for today. Mwah!